Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast. I hope everyone's been enjoying their weekend. I do apologize for the very late, early morning episode of the podcast, depending on where you are. But before we begin, don't forget to always hit subscribe, whether you're listening to on YouTube, Spotify, or through Apple Podcast. And don't forget to follow on Instagram, Twitter, and also now TikTok as well. So yeah, again, hope everyone has been enjoying their weekend. We have a big matchup today, to say the least, playing Newcastle United. And it's really hard to say what this match is going to bring because we have a priority game next Thursday against Lyon back at Old Trafford. So a lot of stuff going on this week, going into today, talking about rotation. That is the key word for this game. Yes, today's episode is just going to be focusing on the matchup for Newcastle. Newcastle, who has been playing very well this season. They won the Carlsborough Cup. So we have that going on. So the point is, what I was going to lean towards is that Newcastle is fighting towards a Champions League spot, which again, if you watched Champions League this week, you saw that Arsenal, by winning the first matchup against Real Madrid, earned the EPL a fifth Champions League spot. So the first five will be going to Champions League. Newcastle sitting in seventh. So if you've been looking at the table from 4 to 7, everything is within 2 points. Actually, if you look at 3rd to 7th, everything's within 4 points. Forest is at 57, City's at 55, Villa 54, and Chelsea and Newcastle tied at 53 points. So we're getting to the end of the season. Also, the one thing too is to look at, ladies and gentlemen, Newcastle does have a game in hand on some of these clubs too. So we don't know, how it's going to play out in the end. But let's focus on what's happening tomorrow. Newcastle have a must-win game tomorrow. And I mentioned this last week when I did the City preview, with, again, the chase to the Champions League, that this is a game that they need to win. So the pressure is going to be a little on Newcastle today. Now, is there pressure on Manchester United? It would be nice for them to go up a couple spots. Crystal Palace losing today. Brentford, I believe, got the draw. So if we can get a win, which would be nice, we can move up the table as well. But it is going to be challenging. And like I mentioned at the start of the episode, rotation has been the word of the week. Actually, shouldn't be the week, the last couple of days, ever since the Lyon game. And if you haven't listened to my post game about that, that's episode 10 of the podcast. But here we are. This is what we're looking at today. The matchup going on this morning. So I'm going to do my little preview before the matchup goes, because we're depending on where you are again in the world. For me, we're 11 hours away, 11 and a bit from kickoff. So, because it's going to be 11:30 in the morning here in Canada, well, here where I am in Canada. So looking at that right now. So yeah, just about 10 hours, 11 hours and a bit. So until that kicks off. So, but the main point is the prediction for Manchester United. What are we going to look at today? Like I mentioned, Newcastle looking for pressure, or Newcastle's going to have the pressure because, again, we're looking at this matchup here. Again, they have a game in hand for this. So, well, they have a game in hand and compared to the rest of the table. So we don't. They're going to be feeling the pressure again. They need to move up. again, that fifth spot is there. I know I'm going to be kind of sounding like a repeat, but for Manchester United itself, it's going to be, we have to look at what they're going to do. Because again, rotation. I feel like you're going to have your usual starters. Because again, I read an article this week from a press conference from Ruben Amorim that he's going to try and keep it as similar as it was from the Lyon game, which means as much as rest is key, it's you don't want to lose that momentum of that lineup that you have. But I think he's going to play a little differently today, and it's tough. It really is. When you're looking at it here, it was tough to try and build a squad when you're trying to read at the hits. And today, like sometimes I mostly go off of my feeling of what I believe the squad's going to be. And I did do some research. I looked at other fan channels. I did read some articles. And it is tough because a lot of people are all over the map. I know there's talks of Bruno being missed for tomorrow. He was going to get rest. The man's a machine, so he barely misses a game. So you want to keep him healthy and durable, ready to go. You have people coming back from injury. There's talks of Luke Shaw, Harry Amos starting. I saw one lineup where it was Maz, Maguire, Maz, Lindelof, and Euro in the back three. I don't think that was going to be happening. Changes in net, that's a concern. Obviously, a lot of people are jumping to Binder, which I believe should be starting next week. The only downfall to that is that if you're changing goalie, you're basically just falling into potentially a trap, more of a mind game trap with Lyon because of the words that were said this week in terms of Andre Onana. So there's that possibility as well. So my squad for today, for today's match is going to be net Binder. Again, I'm going to keep in tradition of what Amorim said. He's going to try and keep it similar to what they did for Lyon. So there's going to be a couple tweaks there from what they did for the starting to what they did for the finish. So yes, Binder I have going in net. Why? Well, obviously we all know the reason. I think he needs to get his time in and also get himself ready if he's going to be starting next Thursday at Old Trafford. My wingbacks, Delot, Dorgu are going to start. Expect them to get changed out. I just realized I skipped my back three. We're going to go with Maz, Maguire, Lindelof, Euro, who has been playing phenomenally. He gets a little bit of rest, but you're going to see him on. You might see Harry Mass play. You might see the return of Luke Shaw at his, hopefully he's healthy and ready to go. You should see him there as well. So we're going to see that. Maguire, I believe, should only be playing the first half and then get rotated off. So again, you're going to probably still see Euro play. It's just about the minutes that he may play as well, just to still give him some minutes to play. Not much, but you give him enough that his legs will be, he's not losing momentum or anything from the last 10 games that he's played phenomenally. Ugarte, Bruno in the middle. I know his rotation is going to be a little unique for tomorrow, and I feel like you're going to see players he gets about 5 rotations. So the question is, who do you see them coming on? But let me finish off with the rest of my lineup. So again, Ugarte, Bruno in the middle, Dallo and Dorgu out on the wings. My 10s are going to be Mount and Garnacho. I feel like that's going to be the spot right there, and I think Xerxes is just going to start at the 9. So you have that there as your lineup. For in terms of rotation of what he's going to do, when we get to that, I feel like you're going to see that rotation after half. So if I'm doing a rotation, again, you have to get Maguire or Mazraoui off just so you can have some rest. Delot or Dorgu will need to get some rest as well. You may see Ugarte. it's hard to predict what you want for a rotation, but it's tough. I think Cheeto Obi, you're going to see him get minutes tomorrow. Again, Harry and Mass. I think depending on how the game's going is going to determine the type of rotation that Amram's going to do. You might see more of the youth getting in, which is good, which is great. But I feel like Bruno might need to take some time off. I think Maguire will definitely need it because of the knock. Ugarte, who has been kind of getting subbed off early, you might see him play the full, which I would believe. Maz, I believe he should be going off just due to rotation. Delo, Dorgu, you have either or go off as well and get some pieces in. And again, Mount, who we're going to need in Lyon, so you might see him get switched off at half just to get someone else in, like an Ericsson, to play. And then you'll probably see Cheeto Obi come in for Xerxes. But again, it all depends on how the game is going and how seriously we're going to look at the game, because a lot of people just want to write the game off and just feel like, yeah, we're good. I think Amarim is still going to go and try for a win, which we're perfectly fine with. Let him do that, get that win. But I think with everything going on, the rotation is key. Trying to get the win is great. But again, depending on how the game is going, I think you might see certain players getting put in, but it is really tough. It's hard to say. And again, going into this matchup and trying to make predictions, it was tough too, just because, again, everyone was just mentioning rotation because of Lyon. As much as rotation is great, it kind of dwells a little bit on, focusing and taking, again, he still wants to make sure every game is key, because again, like, as much as we had that falter with Lyon, I think those players still need to get themselves back up. Again, playing a good game against Newcastle helps them with a game against Lyon. You might not think that, but from a player's mentality, I think that's important to have going into that. So I think that's what's going to be happening in today's matchup. It's just going to have to be, it's just going to have to be that focus of, staying healthy, rotating, getting momentum going in, and that, and facing a team that is battling for top 5. To get a win or get a battle between the two is important, and it helps, again, with that mentality and the momentum going in. Because again, Cheeto Obi will not be there next Thursday, but momentum for, let's say, Xerxes, Bruno, Garnacho, Ugarte, having by Inder get confidence as well, I think that's important for next Thursday. So I think that's what you're going to see there. I believe Mount deserves to start just for how well he's played in the second half. And I mentioned, the momentum he kind of brought in Thursday. Just, I know you had that little skirmish, but just that attitude, I think that's what fit very well into that match. So, but I think he has to get the start. I think he's deserving of the start, and I've mentioned it before. So I would like to see Mount start. I really would. And again, it's all how you're going to look at it. Again, Newcastle, this is Newcastle's game to lose. It really is. And listen, again, I'm always hoping for a win. But we're looking at it here, and listen, the pressure is not on Manchester United for tomorrow. The media-wise, it's always going to be putting it on the pressure, but I think tomorrow is, you're going to have to see them play well, play smart, gain momentum, like no stupid passes, play like tracking back, and the transition and the attack is key, because you want to make sure that you're still doing that and still getting that momentum when you're going into Lyon next week. So that's what is important. Let's not take that away from anyone or anything. That is what the most important thing is. So that's why I think the key is, because you have to keep it as simple as possible. But again, like, the advantage is Manchester United for this game. It really is. And I believe that it has to be, because again, if, like, I'm not saying not to take the game seriously, and a lot of people There's some people who just want to write the game off and just be like, yeah, we're good. We'll just go to the next one. Who cares? For me, I'm going to say no. You still play to the win. Because again, the mentality that you want to leave for your players is you have to go in and you have to play against Leon. Don't go all in and just try to ignore. Because again, it's tough. Remember, like, as much as we get a win or if we get a draw or anything, it's preventing Newcastle from getting up there as well. So again, you're preventing your opponent from winning, but at the same time too, you're helping yourself out a little bit as well. And to be fair, like I mentioned with the coefficient, the higher up that you get, if we can somehow magically continue getting points and sneak into that 10th spot or 9th, if we can. Let me take a look at the table one more time because I know I was mentioning that. So yeah, Bournemouth, Brighton, and us are in Crystal Palace. So we're within 7 of Bournemouth. We still have one more match against them. We're still playing Brentford. We're done with Crystal. They dominated us. Well, we drew in that first game. They dominated us in the second game. So let's go with the latter and say they dominated us. If we can score a win today, I would be so ecstatic. I would be. If we can get up there, get close to Palace. Palace has a game in hand. Again, they have a game in hand on Bournemouth and Brentford, which again is kind of a benefit in their favor. As much as we're 5 points back, we're a game ahead of them. So right now, again, if we can get that win, get within 2 of Brentford, get within 4 of Bournemouth, with Bournemouth but again, Bournemouth still has to play. They're playing tomorrow, so I do apologize. And again, we need a lot of favors, just to say the least. But again, if we can get some wins, get a win where, again, if we get the 3, we're within 2 of Brentford. If Bournemouth fall, if we can get in within 4 of Bournemouth. Brighton has already played. Again, if we win, we get within 7 of Brighton. So we do see that because, again, we're coming down to the ladder where positions matter. Conference, Europa, that is all important in this matchup. So not just this matchup with Newcastle, if they can squeeze in with Europa or even squeeze in with Champions League, because I mentioned when I read off the points earlier, they have that there. They are. So when you look at the table, like, again, some people will, but even right now with the updated table, technically Newcastle has 2 games in hand right now on the 4 out of the top 5. No, for real, they do. If Newcastle come out with a win, you get that up, and you're looking at, Newcastle in the top 4. And I'm not trying to be taking this away from Manchester United. I'm just letting you know the importance of the game. Don't get me wrong. There's importance for us. Again, if we can move up, get some spots, it helps with us. But again, if we can take points away, Newcastle doesn't get closer. And again, the pressure is not again, the game is important to us. A win is a game is a game. Let's not take it away, like I said. But if we can somehow just, take something from Newcastle, that'd be great. Because again, we the game is, there's not much pressure. I feel like I just repeated myself about 87 times with those same words, so I do apologize. But yeah, again, I'm going for a United win, as always. And yeah, so again, my squad: Binder, Maz, Maguire, Lindelof in the back, Delo, Ugarte, Bruno, and Dorgu in the middle. Mason Mount, Garnacho, and Xerxes there. I think my subs for tomorrow will be Ericsson, Yoro, Harry Amas, Cheeto Obi. Sorry. Ericsson, Harry Amas, Yoro, Cheeto Obi, and trying to think of who else would I bring on. Let's say Luke Shaw. Let's say Luke Shaw, just for, we want to see if he can, because he hasn't gotten minutes yet. He's been back, but he hasn't gotten minutes yet. If he does play, it will be a short minutes. But I think that might be the 5 subs I would bring on. So Eriksson, Cheeto Obi, Euro, Amas, and Luke Shaw. It's all looking forward to, again, how the game is going. You may see subs earlier. You might see Hoyland come on. You might see, Manu. There's Manu too. Manu may have to come on. You're gonna have to take a look here as well. So you might see. So take off Shaw. Forget. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm gonna say no to Shaw. Especially when you're bringing on Harry Amas. Because again, if Euro comes on, it'll probably be for Mazraoui. If Amas comes on, it's going to be for Lindelof. Manu is going to come on, possibly for Mount. So you might see, Manu coming for Mount. You're going to see potentially Eriksson, let's say, going for Ugarte. We do have to make someone in for Maguire potentially as well, and Cheeto Obi for Xerxes. So again, this is just my prediction. It all depends on how it plays out. It really does. You don't know what the subs will be until the game is there. So, again, I wanted to make this a short episode. So hopefully you do like my matchups for what it's going to be. It's hard. It really is. Again, news outlets, fan channels all have their predictions. It's difficult to say for myself what I think it's going to be. I really do. But we'll see how it plays. No, we really do. Again, I hope, this is a game where, like Man City, the pressure is not as much on United as it is for the opponent. And we're on the road, which is tough. So we want to see, some fights, some travel. You might see a little sluggish there because, again, we just came back from France. I know when you're looking at it from European side, obviously England and France are not that far. The travel time is not as, you're still getting some travel time, some jet lag. Because again, they flew in on the Wednesday. They probably flew back Friday, probably late Thursday. They flew back, got back in early Friday. So there's that going on. So, and then you have to drive. Then you have to, head to Newcastle for an away. So this is where you might be wondering what the rotation is going to be. So, we'll see. We don't know. Again, this is just a prediction. This is just a guess of what I think might happen. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe you see Cheeto Obi start. Maybe you see Harry Amas start. Maybe you see Manu. Maybe you see Manu coming in and Bruno not starting. So it's just a matter of, what does Amarim plan? But again, from what he said in an interview this week, it's going to be similar to what Lyon was. So, which means you're probably going to look at a similar lineup, just probably different additions. When I did mine, what did I do here? Yeah, it's very similar to what I almost did for Lyon. Again, instead of Euro, it's Lindelof. Oh, sorry. Because when I did Lyon, it's Euro was in instead of Lindelof. Mount was in. Bruno was where Mount was. We had Casemiro where Bruno was, and Hoyland was the starter where I have Xerxes. So it definitely changed a little bit after that game, but right now I'm going with this one. That's what I think. I think, yes, similar, but I don't think it's going to be the exact same because of rotation. He didn't mention that we don't have the depth for a proper rotation. So unless he's looking at putting all the youth in, but I think Cheeto Obi, you'll see him get game time. Hamas, potential game time. Manu, game time. you might see Luke Shaw come in. Like, again, instead of bringing in Euro in, you might see Luke Shaw. So we might see some time off, or you have Euro starting and Maz get some time off. But I think we have to look at the depth pieces, and the back three is where you have to focus on that rotation too. So that has to be key, healthy and everything. So I don't think Delet's playing unless they're aiming for Delet next Thursday as the target. So hopefully he's back, and hopefully Aiden Heaven's back too. So those are very important pieces as well. So, yeah, there's some other stuff I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to make this about the game tomorrow. I'll talk about more next episode as well. There's obviously the free transfers, Kuna, Delap. There's an article that came out about Rashford and Amarim looking to clear the air. I'll talk about that in the next episode, just short little bit. I'm a little questionable about that, but I'll do more next episode, especially after doing the preview or post. Well, we'll do a post game, but I will be doing an episode probably the day after. So Monday I'll be back with post game thoughts, as well as talking what I just wanted to discuss, which I couldn't talk about today. So so mostly, again, just wanted to focus on the Newcastle matchup. So again, Binder, Maz, Maguire, Lindelof, Delo, Ugarte, Bruno, Dorgu, Mount, Garnacho, Xerxes as my starting 11 tomorrow, or today. Sorry, because we're now 11 hours or so from the match. But again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know some pieces might seem repetitive and all over the map. That's what it was. But I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the match today as well, which is kind of key. So again, enjoy the episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe, whether you're following on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. And don't forget to hit a like on YouTube. Also, if you do listen and you want to leave a comment, go ahead. I would like some feedback. Would be greatly appreciated as well. So enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will tune into you guys next episode. This is the Red Devils Corner Kick Podcast. Glory, glory, Man United.